Bienvenidos de nuevo a la sala número 3 de Madrid Platform.
Welcome back to room 3 at Madrid Platform. If you think I look sad, it's because this is the last panel after the last 3 days full of content that we've had. What's better for closing this industry that couldn't be missing? The cultural service will have different actors from different areas. Through a workshop for cultural industries, Carlota Navarrete Barreiro, General Director for the Coalition of Creators of Content Industry. Welcome, Carlota. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for connecting to this session today. It's a huge pleasure for us that you can follow us and that you can share everything that us here at the cultural sector would like to add up to Madrid Platform that will promote the essential value that is the economy together with the business world and with what we bring together as content creators. 2.6% of the jobs in our country depend on cultural industries, and the GDP share is around 3% as well, so we could not be absent from this platform. And I would like to give the floor to the music sector with the president from Promusicae, Antonio Guisasola. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carlota. Thank you for being here. Cultural industries, especially music, which is what I'm most concerned about, is one of the sectors that has more severely suffered the pandemic. Of course, live concerts cannot be held anymore, and also because of the disappearance of physical contact. Recorded music also needs physical contact for meeting the fans, record signing, etc. In spite of all of this, it hasn't been so bad. During 2020, there has been a growth of 13.4% of growth. In Spain, only over 1% growth, with a growth of digital industries and a great drop of the physical product that is caused by the closure of stores. We have a year that will almost be flat, and for the next year we need recovery. We are in a situation where we need to exit the crisis, and that's because we have worked on different channels to be able to build a different relationship with consumers and fans. Nowadays, the number of opportunities for artists, for record companies has helped us generate new consuming habits, where the live streaming has had a growing presence. We've seen social networks related to music grow, for instance, TikTok. Programs for exercise at home that are based on music too. This creates business and creative opportunities. So we have this whole environment where we can develop new ideas. So we have opportunities for growth, but we need support. We're living in an economy where barriers have completely disappeared. We need to support our industry. In Italy and France, the investment is considered the same as investment in research and development. It's something that we could copy that we are not doing here in Spain. If we want to compete in this new global economy, our artists should be in a position to compete with artists that come from abroad. In Spain, the top 10 are always music. It's always Spanish music. We have to create regulatory frameworks that protect the industry, as Carlota said, to promote talent creation. There's an economic management that is based on multi-platform. I wish we had a program similar to other industries. There's an audiovisual program, but they only care about the visual part. The music has always been left behind, and we would like to make a call for attention to get support. There will be a next revolution in the world of music, where augmented reality will be a key aspect. The entry of artificial intelligence. We need to debate moral issues such as who will generate the next Elvis Presley song that will be created by a machine. Is it legit? For 10 years, we have been used to music having a certain value, and now with the streaming, we need to review that. We'll need to compete in the attention economy. Streaming, there is a source that sustains the future. I hope we can have live concerts sooner. The sooner the better, as is happening in other countries. We think the future is waiting for us. We need to be at the level of other industries of music in other places in the world where they also speak Spanish. We'll put our efforts, but we also need the commitment of the public and the support of the government. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Antonia. And it is so important to... Culture is so important. Well, no, things of being live, that's fine. I don't know if I can put it back or if any of my colleagues can assist me with this. Well, apparently it works. But maybe it will fall again. Who knows? In any case, next I would like to invite Estela Artachos. She's the president of the Federation of Film Distributors in Spain. So, Estela, please, the floor is yours. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being there on the other side of the screen. You deserve all our admiration for being there. The streets of Madrid have been a movie set for some time now. Creators such as Almodóvar, Boyain, Juana Macías, or León de Aranoa, among others, have drawn a Madrid identity, colorful or hedonistic in some times, or dramatic in others. Cinema has become a window of opportunity. It offers an attractive view of the city, and also films provide or have a very strong economic impact. It is money that comes in the shape of taxes. The film industry in Spain has been led by Madrid, which has turned into a filmmaking hub thanks to its infrastructures, its professionals, the great creative artistic talent and the technical talent as well, and a flexible regulatory scheme that has encouraged domestic and foreign investments, thus creating employment and wealth. The Madrid region is a benchmark in this regard. The audiovisual industry represents 4% of the city's GDP and has over 1,500 companies that represent an important percentage of all Spanish industries. The seed of the film industry is in Madrid. Therefore, we attract talent and we provide employment. Indeed, Madrid houses companies such as Disney, as Fox, especially after Brexit. And when healthcare conditions so permit, film productions will come back to Madrid, thus contributing to the image of our city being projected through mediatic actions in the sector, such as, for example, the highest movie theater in the world, the exhibit of Harry Potter film sets with the release of Fantastic Animals, the largest Disney Comics exhibit in Spain, the Star Wars exhibit in Madrid as well. And you all know Madrid has also turned into a hub for production of new films by platforms such as Netflix and Disney Plus that is starting to develop its own production films here. Also, CBS has decided to establish in Madrid and is studying creating an international production center in the capital. These platforms also allow that Spanish productions are seen all over the world and thus benefit from great promotion. The region of Madrid has also become a clear example, both nationally and European, and at the European level, in the reactivation of culture in times of a pandemic. In the last few months, we have seen how many campaigns have been promoted about safe culture, among which I Go to the Movies, boosted by Fedicine, which has had the firm support of the Spanish government, the audiovisual sector, and the regional government. The pandemic has changed our consumption habits, as my colleague mentioned, and the cinema sector has also had to work and adapt to a new reality. The Madrid region has shown a firm commitment to turn movie theaters in safe spaces with campaigns such as You Are 1 Meter Away from Your Cinema that has encouraged Madrid citizens to enjoy the offer while maintaining the cultural activity, because Madrid has considered cinema and culture as a catalyst to improve the people's mood in times of a pandemic. While the movie theaters of other cities such as Paris, Rome, Berlin, Madrid's strategy has made it possible for movie theaters and other cultural shows remain open, thus placing value on culture as an engine for society. At the national level, while most of cinemas were opened at 40 or 80% of its capacity, in Madrid, cinemas have been fully opened over 90% capacity. Thus, throughout the last year, the stakeholders involved in the cinema movie chain have in the value chain, we all have worked to maintain movie cinemas open while implementing all the necessary measures. Thanks to the work of all the stakeholders involved, we've opened our movie theaters safely, and we've been able to show and to project the movies that are now everywhere. The trend that we see right now in rise is due to the commitment towards innovation and has materialized in the fourth quarter, when we increased levels of audience. In the meantime, the third movie by Tadeo Jones, produced in Spain for the whole world to see, is now in production, and we've been able to maintain it throughout. We've been able to continue with the shooting because it's an animated film. Also, Madrid is one of the few cities that houses production of The Lion King that we hope will reopen soon when things go back to normal. In the current circumstances, with the pandemic and with its uncertain economic repercussions, the cultural sector can be relevant and essential to reinforce the leadership of Madrid as an economic and cultural capital. In this regard, film companies welcome the Spain Audiovisual Hub initiative that should translate into higher incentives and less regulation, bearing in mind that investing in a sector that works and is growing in a competitive environment could have negative impacts to the economy and to the employment of the country. On our hand, from Fedicine, we will work as hard as we can to keep on working, and we will work for recovering the region's cultural fabric, to recreate, to boost, and to enjoy culture as an indispensable value of the city and of the persons who live in it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Estela, and thank you to the sector for this effort to make culture safe. I recently went to the movies, to theater, and to concerts, and I'm super healthy. So safe culture. And now we will continue with another pillar of the cultural Industry, the president of the Spanish Video Games Association, Alberto González Lorca. Please, the floor is yours. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank all the organizers, and also would like to include video games for including us as part of the cultural sector. I'd like to introduce what AEVI is. AEVI is the main association for video games, and we include all the parties involved in the creation of video games, technicians, developers, companies, etc. Our organization has over 60 companies, and we represent 90% approximately of the consumption in the Spanish market and most of the employment in this area. Well, it fell again. But I would like, because I think not many people, not many persons know this, talk about the Spanish sector of video games. This is a one of the most important industry. It showed an increase of 18%. It also creates over 9,000 direct employment, and has a turnover of 3.5 billion euro and creates a growth, as I said before, of 18% with the capacity to double this figure in the upcoming 5 or 6 years. I'd also like to talk about the profile of the video game consumer. And one of the effects of last year is that we went to having millions of video games. But last year, with the pandemic, the number of women who played video games increased, and this shows how video games are moving closer to other segments. But we're here to talk about the future. And I would like to talk about video games as a lever for economic recovery. Video games, without any doubt, is strongly linked to innovation and to technological development, such as virtual reality. Not only applied to video games, but is also applied in the healthcare and educational and business sectors. Video games have been included, and we want to thank the government for that. In the cultural hub, the European Cultural Hub, and just as the Vice President mentioned, and I quote, the strategy of the hub will involve a digital environment that is multimedia and interactive, such as video games and esports. And to that end, it will focus on some of the priorities that as a sector we have ahead of us. So improving financial subsidies or financial support, developing human capital of the professionals in the sector, and improve regulation and remove administrative barriers. This has been great news that will increase the growth and the generation of employment here in Spain. And talking about Madrid, we need to point out that Madrid as a destination and a hub for video games are ideal. At a national level, we have many strengths in the video game sector that make us coveted location. We have great creative and technical talent. Our talent is highly valued at an international level, and we currently have 90 diplomas and postgraduate degrees in private and public universities in Spain, something that was not the case a few years ago. We have great publishers. We have Nintendo, EA Sports, among many others, Media Pro, great esports, Movistar Riders, Giants, Mad Lions, and great competitions as well, like Mason University, the Orange Super League. All of this allows us to become a safe and attractive destination in one of the top producing countries of interactive content. Madrid is also filled with professionals and companies with great experience and recognition worldwide. The presence of multinational companies is achieving or is managing to create the networking that is ideal, so that many companies, SMEs or large companies, manage within a sector that is growing, managed to be successful. For example, esports, Mercury's team, Platonic Games, etc., are already great references worldwide. We also have the International Week of Video Games that gathers 140,000 visitors in addition to developers, to companies, and to creators. And I would like to finish by thanking that the public administration has had decided to imply itself and to make such a firm commitment. The Madrid regional government has facilitated the development of video games, 1.8 billion euro. The DG of Economy has also launched the video game campus in Madrid. All these measures will help that this global growth of our sector comes to Spain. I would like to finish by saying that our main challenge is to keep on growing and attracting part of this growth to Spain. We need to facilitate national and international investments through investment methods that work in other countries in our surrounding, France, the UK, or Canada. That's it by my side. I would just like to thank you for your attention. And I would like to thank Madrid City Council and Madrid Platform for inviting us. Thank you very much, Alberto. It's very important, the video game sector. We've seen how the sports sector copied esports, but here, of course, we have a business potential that is quite clear. But we continue to other areas of culture. We will now listen to Antonio María Ávila. He is Executive Director of the Federation of Publishers, of the Publishers Guild in Spain. Good afternoon, everyone, and if you're listening from abroad, probably from Latin America, good morning. One of our most important philosophers, Ortega y Gasset, a bright mind, distinguished between ideas and beliefs. Ideas are the ones that make society progress, and for that we need to think, we need to have discipline. One of the beliefs that is more deeply rooted in the Spanish society is that cultural industries is a subsidized sector. Every time that I have an occasion to say so, I like to state and I like to affirm that this is not true. I would like to say that the publishing sector receives some funding. A 10th part would be enough, but that's not the case. I've suffered 3 great financial crises. The 80s, when I was part of the public administration. Cultural industry has not been a beneficiary of those subsidies that people think. And if we go to the other funding organizations and we see the amount, the actual amount paid by administration, we see that the total amount is 0.5% in the whole of public administrations. If you're subsidized, you tell me what kind of subsidy we can have with those amounts. The path that we should follow is the path of regulation. When I read the titles of the meeting, we talked about the contributions that we can make into the future. Well, if there's a sector that is subject to growth, that is the cultural sector. We're 3.6, but in the UK, 6%, and in the US, that is the one that sets the path, it's 10%. This means that we have room for improvement. And we're also in a society of information, of knowledge, whatever you want to call it, because that depends on the sociologist that you prefer. We live in a society that is based on the fact that there has to be a lot of training, a lot of education. The institutionalization of change forces to permanent training. And we also think that we're going to have more time for having tapas, but for entertainment, because entertainment, well understood, grants growth opportunities. With proper entertainment, we can double the figure of what we contribute to the GDP. It represents the publishing sector, the most important cultural industry in Spain. The same goes for the rest of Europe. In the publishing world, we are the ones who prevail. We are in the top position, unlike other areas. It's a creative sector. It's also an old-standing sector, but really creative. And since we talk about America here, one of the characteristics of the book industry in Spain, particular of publishing house, not only publishers and distributors, and they employ over 100,000 people. And in this, we are in the same line with other sectors. These are highly qualified professionals. Their contribution is higher than in other sectors. We, unlike banks, we are parvenus into the Spanish society when all the big companies started leaving Spain. We've been abroad for almost a century. We have celebrated in America, but also in the US, that we have subsidiaries that are 70 years old. We are an industry that is profoundly globalized. We have over 200 subsidiaries that belong to 46 publishing houses. So there are 46 publishing houses that are international, and that is because we are innovators. Not only do we publish books on paper, which is the predominant format, but also in digital format where we're making great efforts. The pandemic, what has it been good for? Well, for the Minister of Education to tell us, open your documents, the documents of the publishing sector, so that we can teach remote classes. And all the companies, over 30 companies, opened their archives and put it for free at the disposal of parents, teachers, and students.
That is not done over one night if you're not prepared. And I can assure you that the book industry is ready. Half of the book industry, of the publishing industry, is located in Madrid. Madrid and Barcelona, and the great companies are also in Madrid and Barcelona, almost 50-50.
Lo que significa es que la capacidad de potenciación que tenemos de crear empleo.
So that means our potential for job creation to power up the economy of the region is very important. And we're capable of exporting anything that we build here anywhere in the world. And we also have our very own fair, the professional fair, not open to the public, that happens 1 year in Madrid, 1 year in Barcelona. Is the largest fair of the Spanish language in the world, and is where the biggest percentage of business is carried out. So we have one of the best book industries in the world. Thank you. Thank you so much, Antonio, for this manifest, for the support of the culture that gives the users so much, and it also generates jobs, quality jobs. Let's not forget about that. We follow with José Luis Sevillano, Director General of Artists, Interpreters and Executants. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you to La Coalición for always being on the front line. As a representative for artists, I would like to say that this was probably the sector that came out worse during this crisis, but we have managed to stay afloat, and through the content, we have tried to bring entertainment for all those long hours of lockdown. I would like to say a few words about what AIE is. We represent especially artists, those artists that use their voice in Spanish, but we represent any genre or country, especially we're especially related to Latin America. Over 6,000 of our members come from Latin America and the US. Through their copyrights, we manage the rights. I don't think I need to give more data, because I think my colleagues will do so. There's a huge cooperation between content, artists, and tourism. For us, it's a key issue that makes that Spain is the second tourism destination for music festivals in the world. Our artists are now waiting to see if this summer they can work again in the summer festivals in all of the coast, especially throughout Spain. And if there's something that brings tourism to our country, and especially Madrid, that is growing in this area, is culture. And culture needs to be backed in all of its different sectors. We have a good representation for that today in this room. I believe it's truly worth it to keep working in that direction. Let's not forget that culture and the work we do regarding copyrights is closely linked to technology. Technology and the globalization of intellectual proprietary rights. Madrid platform can be a vehicle for what we call something that has been forgotten in all of these new projects that are called Next Generation, which is the music hub. There's audiovisual hub that relates to the European system of audiovisual hubs, and everything is audiovisual, but the audio part has been left behind. That's why we, at this moment, are at a time when we can do projects that link artists, authors, producers. And as Antonio said before, since we were exporting with Santander Bank wasn't exporting, so did Spanish music. Spanish music has always been a huge reference in Latin America. Many of our artists used to tour for years in Latin America. They spent years without returning to Spain. That is not happening anymore. We need to change that. We need to change that trend. Blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, data lake management, that's allowing us to go global, build systems that allow us to have a more clear and transparent management of the data. We can work in real time to be able to assign the rights to artists and producers, but we need support so that that technology can become a reality today and not tomorrow. Outside of our environment, here in Spain, that's already happening. In the English market, they're already, and the American market, they're already investing in that technology. So we need for the music, the Spanish and the other languages in our country to be positioned in the place where they belong.
Para abordar lo que está por llegar, pues sigue habiendo elementos clave que no podemos desatender en el caso de los artistas.
There are some key aspects that we cannot forget about in the case of artists and authors.
Y hablamos aquí de responsabilidad social corporativa.
Corporate social responsibility.
Estos son conceptos que no nos vale
These are
solo
concepts.
Estar, digamos, en el vagón de cabeza.
It's not enough to be ahead in technology. We have to be ahead on other things as well. There's a huge effort that needs to be done in other different scopes. When we talk about what has happened in this pandemic, at AIE, we have offered over 3,000 aids grants to artists so that they can overcome this tough moment they have to go through. That has to be on the table. It's not just building platforms and related to technology, but to be aware of the people who are always by society offering their added value. That's why all of this has to be brought together into the next stages that the artists are waiting for. From what is more closely linked to the base economy, I would like to mention the Statute of the Artist. There's a mention to this already. There's still some areas that need to be developed regarding tax and social security. We need a clear regulation, like Antonio said before. Sometimes we need to regulate less, but in other aspects we might need to regulate more, so that they are not left without protection at the end of the road. We also need vehicles that allow us to be at the forefront, higher specialization, international platforms, so that we can place so that we can better position ourselves. Here at Madrid Platform, they can help us achieve this job, and we would like to welcome as artists. Thank you. Thank you so much, José Luis, for this optimistic perspective of the potential of the sector. Of course, there are challenges ahead, but we need to overcome them. Jesús Prieto, advisor for CREA SGR. Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you, Madrid Platform. Thank you to the City Hall of Madrid, to the organizers. This event is quite interesting and on time, talking about Madrid, Europe, Latin America. It's very linked to the work that we perform at EGEDA. It was created in 1990 by audiovisual producers. We represent the interests of the Spanish audiovisual producers. We not only manage rights or collect rights. We are concerned with being able to have the audiovisual business. It can be cinema, it can be televised, it can be on the platforms. I'm going to offer some figures. Was the cinema and video activity. Some figures that sometimes can be scarce, contradictory, late. The Observatory for the Society of Information publishes reports on digital content. And since our sector is highly digitalized, we can say that their data is very representative. In 2019, they say that cinema and video activities amounted to 4.654 billion euros. Television production amounted to 800 million euros. We're talking about the year 2019. I'm not aware of the figures for the year 2020. It's been a huge disaster. I think we need to go into detail. Well, they've already talked about the disaster that has happened on movie theaters. Well, we've done what we could. After the opening at the beginning of June, we started filming again. There's no insurance to cover what can happen in a film set if there's a case of COVID, unless in other industries. EGEDA has always been aware of the importance of the audiovisual industry. We've always been concerned with receiving funding and going international with our market. Within our funding activities, EGEDA promoted a long time ago the creation of a financial authority where I am advisor, and I represent EGEDA to provide grants to the people within the sector. Thank God that we had this working on, because when the pandemic went through our country, both the region of Madrid and the Ministry of Culture said we need to give liquid money to the companies in the sector through you. And well, we were delighted because that's everything that we had been waiting for. The Ministry of Culture, I would like to thank them, awarded 20 million euros for the fund to provisional technique. This was a huge backup for the sector. These figures belong in the past. I don't just want to talk about what has happened, but what we have thought should happen in the future if we receive proper backing. A couple of initiatives. Thinking about the positive experience with the Guarantee Fund, we have created a Guarantee Fund for Latin America with a public-private partnership to support SMEs in the region. That's receiving a lot of interest through public and private institutions. Since a few years ago in Europe, there was already a similar program. With the support of the European Fund for Investment and CERSA, it has been possible for us to create this line of help. The second place, in EGEDA, we believe internationalization is key, something we talked about before. We're a local market for big international companies. Our products need to go abroad. EGEDA, being aware of that need, is creating a novelty audiovisual market with the goal of becoming a meeting point for Latin America, in which we can combine the potential for tourism. I believe there's not a market like this in Spain. There are great markets related to important festivals, such as the European Film Festival in Berlin or the Cannes Film Festival. What we want is to plant a seed that will allow us in the long term to be proud of. These are two examples of initiatives. Thank you so much to the entity and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Jesus. It's lovely to see these initiatives to come together. We are all brothers and sisters, Latin America and Spain, and it's good to see us all together. And to close this participation of the cultural sector, we have Iván García Pelayo. He's the Institutional Relations Manager of the Spanish Intellectual Property Rights Management Society. The floor is yours, Iván. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank Madrid Platform for this great opportunity to showcase our views within the cultural sector, to showcase our initiatives and our ideas and how we can contribute. And we'd also like to thank the Commission that we are part of that has made a great effort to handle this event. A brief presentation of what my institution is, SGAE. Of course, it's a long-standing institution, over 120 years. It's true that the SGAE has had different moments, and in that regard, now our approach to transformation and having a new vision is really important, is key. It's key now. I would like to say that the Spanish Intellectual Property Right Management Society has hundreds of members. We have presence in the core areas in Latin America, in the US, and we also have relations with some specific contact points in Asia, and this gives us a global approach. I heard the word global before. When you represent and you have members and partners and interests in many places with different economies and cultures, there's a moment when you stop thinking in national terms, but you think from a multicultural point of view, in a differentiated way, and you start thinking and proposing ideas from a different perspective. SGAE doesn't have to be Spanish. Spanish belongs to the world. When we say it's a general management society for intellectual property rights for everyone. And now we are embarking upon the path of innovation. I've heard my colleagues mention very interesting lines of action, and I would like to talk from this point of view innovation to contribute a bit more to all these initiatives. There's a phrase that is quite famous that says something like, that says that when something does not reach the core of the activity in about 50%, that's not innovation. What we need to do now is think about what we want to be in the future. We have thought thus in a strategic plan that is a 4 or 5 horizon plan that is based on position and radically different in terms of innovation. And to this end, we have designed the OPERA project of operational strategic right administration, where we are working on the concept of service platform. So this means a radical shift in terms of how we manage, distribute, and how we are able to deliver all the legal, social, to the uses where intellectual property, in this case property rights. But I like to talk in the terms of intellectual property because that's what makes us stand out as a sector. And we want to do this through a platform, but also by the use of data analytics. We used to talk about works and licenses and royalties, but in this 50%, perhaps there is a moment where we embrace an economy of data, of information. And that is something that we need to include within our strategy. We need data analytics that allow us to do projections, predictions, that allow us to gain knowledge. And in the digital world, we know that all the big data criteria are essential to collect, but also to make decisions in complicated contexts. This is where we are now. And I think this is a bit the path toward which are headed. José Luis was mentioning the importance of this generation funds, and these funds require remodeling, reinventing ourselves, of course, based on these dynamics, and also in collaboration with other institutions. Sky wants to delve into this transformation path, and why not think where intellectual property rights will be in 5 years and where we can fit in this management model. That doesn't have to remove everything that existed already, but needs to change, because there will be changes at all levels, given the importance of data. And also there's something that's coming, and it's coming here to stay. And we've talked about state secretariat within a ministry that works specifically on this, and that is the AI criterion. It's not so much an ideological concept or notion, but a tool or a way to see the world. So, what conclusions do we draw from this? Well, we are promoting the idea of having predictive models. If we are able to generate predictive models thanks to AI and to data analytics that allow modeling businesses in terms of opportunities, then we could not only generate an economy from that point of exposure, but that would allow us to define this new business model and work innovation as a practical element. This is a groundbreaking element, and this is something that needs to be part of a creative industry. We require a support that allows that the analytical and predictive capacities, we need them to help us understand the users that we have, especially now in a world that is a globalized world, cross-border world. So all these aspects that allow us to reach users in this way with the use of data mean working under the lab notion. It's one thing to design a lab to find the concept of innovation, and a very different thing is to work from the perspective of a lab all the time to establish opportunities. And this somehow is the core of the innovation vision that we have. But from here, there's a lot to be said that I think goes with this vision that we have. And we've also talked about internationalization. So if we can create and generate things to this data, economic models will be able to identify the opportunities that the digital environment brings in terms of internationalization. And this, of course, has some entry or initial barriers with regard to the technological development, but it is not the case for other aspects that are not as complex. There's also a regulatory criterion, a legal criterion. And in this regard, the transposition of the European directive is key, as we've seen in the last times in the discussions that we have on Article 15 or 17. This allows us to see that there will be a time where we will be able to work beyond aspects that we could see from a traditional approach. All these opportunities are necessary, but of course they must be based they must be based on the proper technology. From all of this, what I expect is that all this work creates collaborative models and cross-border collaborative models. And this forum, we know how important the relationship with Latin America is, but we need to find our point in common to be able to optimize and oxygenate the opportunities that exist, removing initial barriers or minimizing them so that we can have this way of action. I think this is a bit the thoughts that I wanted to share with you, and I would like to thank again for this opportunity, and I bid farewell. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Jesus. You were the last one to speak from room 3. With this, we put an end to 3 days of intense content. We've talked from culture, construction, water sector, sustainability, and a common point, just this capacity of bringing together Latin America and Europe with Spain as the junction for that. Thank you all of you thank you to all the person that joined from home. I'm trying to do this so that it looks great for Latin America. Thank you to all the people who have accompanied us from the other side of the pond. It's been an honor to moderate all these sessions, and I would like to invite you to go to the main auditorium on site or on through the virtual channel for the closing of the event. Never lose this collaborative spirit. Thank you very much.